Manchester United are drifting toward a waterfall, and everyone on board can hear the roar getting louder. The sensors are blinking red, the hull is creaking. The captain keeps insisting the map is fine. Then, through the mist, a second ship appears. On the bow stands a man who built his career on clarity, control and courage with the ball. Xavi Hernández. Is he the pilot who can pull United out of the current, or just another name destined to vanish into Old Trafford's fog? Today we cut through the noise and give you a clear, cinematic look at the most polarizing idea on the market. Xavi to Manchester United. Masterstroke or madness? Picture this. It's late afternoon in Manchester. Grey skies press low over the stadium. Inside you can feel the tension before you even see it. Passes that used to be automatic now look like coin flips. Senior players shake their heads. Young players stare at the turf. The scoreboard has become a truth United can't outrun. Week after week, the same images repeat. Possession without purpose, pressure without bite. Games that slip away not because the opponent is brilliant, but because United are brittle. Let's be honest with each other. This isn't just a bad patch, it's a breakdown. Numbers across the board say the same thing. Defeats piling up, points per game stuck in the mud, patterns so predictable that even newly promoted teams show up with a plan, execute it, and leave with a result. The structure that was supposed to free the squad is suffocating it. Wing channels are clogged, central corridors are empty. The ball goes wide because there's nowhere else to go. And when it does, the opposition simply mirrors the shape and locks the doors. Behind the curtain, the atmosphere is worse. Confidence is a memory. The dressing room is tense. The message is not landing. Talented players feel like they're auditioning for roles that don't exist. The academy's brightest, players who thrive in fast, interconnected football, sit and wait for a system that never calls their number. You can feel the staleness in every post-match debrief. The explanations get longer as the performances get smaller. So how did we get here? Start with rigidity. A formation chosen before the first training session becomes the answer to every question. Opponents adapt. United don't. Where there should be adjustments, there is repetition. Where there should be bravery, there is comfort. Where there should be leadership, there is defensiveness. The identity of a great club has never been about one shape. It's about one standard. And that standard has been allowed to slip. Now, let's stop staring at the wreckage and look at the alternative on the horizon. Xavi Hernández. He doesn't come with mystery, he comes with a playbook. Not a rigid blueprint, but a living model. Position, possession, pressure. The 3 Ps. They aren't slogans, they're tools. That's the first thing United would feel within a week. Clarity. Every drill has a why, every lane has a rule. Every player has reference points for when to take risks and when to secure the structure. Think of Xavi's football as a living grid. In possession, the team stretches the pitch horizontally and vertically. The first pass isn't a coin toss, it's a test to see where the opponent bends. Centre-backs open the book, full-backs climb into advanced lanes, the pivot offers a safety valve, and the second midfielder shows on a diagonal to draw a marker. The number 10 operates in the half spaces, never flat with the pivot, always a step between lines, always showing an angle that gives the carrier 2 good choices instead of one desperate one. Now imagine that on Manchester United grass with Manchester United profiles. Picture a double pivot of control and courage, a young tempo setter who can show, turn and pass in a single motion, a ball winner who can move the system forward with simple vertical releases. Ahead of them, the chief organizer, a creator who lives between shadows, constantly scanning, constantly calculating. Is the winger high? Is the fullback inside? Can I wall pass? Can I third man? On the flanks, one profile holds width and threatens the back post. The other drifts inside to overload the middle and connect the triangle. Up front, a striker who can pin centre-backs, but also step off the line to form diamonds. Behind them all, a goalkeeper comfortable as the 11th outfield player, calm under pressure, daring enough to beta press and punish it. This is the picture Xavi sells. Not a formation, but a choreography. The freedom is not random, it's earned. You move a piece, your teammate moves in response. The team moves as a shape. And when United lose the ball, the second part of the model kicks in: pressure. It's not chaos, it's coordinated. First defender engages with intent, second defender secures the inside lane, third defender closes the obvious release. The goal isn't the tackle, it's the trap. Win the ball where you can hurt the opponent immediately. If the press is broken, you don't panic. You drop to a mid-block that still guards the centre and still shapes the opponent's decisions toward predictable zones. If you're a United fan, you can hear the promise in that description. But you can also hear the alarm in your own memory. You've been sold ideas before. You've had appointments arrive with glossy tactical decks and leave with grey hair and empty hands. So what makes this different? First, adaptability. Xavi's teams have run 4-3-3, 4-3-3, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, and even 4-1-4-1, depending on context. The principle stays the same: dominate the ball to control the game, but the format shifts with the skill set on hand. If the squad's centre-backs are young and mobile, you can build with a wider base and tuck a full-back inside to create a secure 3-in-rest defence. If the number 6 is more of a connector than a destroyer, you pair him with a runner who covers large spaces. If the winger on one side is a true touchline specialist, you give him the lane and invert the other side to form the midfield box. None of this requires a transfer window miracle. It requires a coach who sees profiles and builds patterns around them. Second, player oxygen. Xavi's best sides breathe through their midfield. That's where United have suffocated most often. A young midfielder who wants the ball under pressure, who can show at the right angle, take the first touch across the marker and play forward on 2 becomes the heartbeat. Pair that with a 10 who scans constantly and plays not to retain the ball but to open space for others, and suddenly the front line starts receiving passes they can attack. The wingers are not just asked to dribble into 3 defenders, they're asked to receive behind the fullback because the fullback is now pinned by the 10's positioning. The striker doesn't just fight aerial duels, he becomes the third man in combinations that carve the box open. Third, the training ground. Xavi's sessions are famous for their reference point repetition. Same shape, different pressing cue. Same pattern, different tempo. Same overload, different finish. It's not monotony, it's memory. You teach the group a handful of automatic sequences: how to beat a high press with a wall pass into the pivot, how to lure a mid-block and switch into the far side winger's blind side, how to rest with the ball at 1-0 without dropping 10 meters too deep. Match days stop feeling like improvisation and start feeling like recitals. Now, let's talk about the shadow that follows him: Barcelona's scars. The record is not a fairy tale. There were European failures, there were heavy defeats, there were nights that felt too big for a team still learning to be itself. But look closer and you see the other side. A domestic title during turbulence, a defense rebuilt on discipline, an identity stitched back together after a generational break. Lessons learned the hard way tend to stick. If Xavi returns to the touchline in England, he won't be naive about the grind. He won't expect points for style. He'll expect to suffer. And to suffer with the ball, which is a different kind of suffering entirely. Let's map this to actual United scenarios you can visualize this weekend. Scenario 1. Playing out against an aggressive press. Goal kick. Centre-back split. The pivot shows on the penalty spot line, not in the goalkeeper's lap. Far enough to draw a forward, close enough to receive. The far fullback starts high, on the blind shoulder of the winger. The 10 occupies the gap behind the opponent's number 6. The first pass goes to the right centre-back, who receives open, not square. The press jumps. The pivot angles to the side, offering a bounce. One touch back, one touch into the 10. Third man run from the winger in behind. Suddenly, United are running at a disorganised backline instead of hoofing a 50-50. Scenario 2. The opponent parks a mid-block with a back 5. Instead of fizzing the ball to the wing and sprinting into a cul-de-sac, United build the overload inside. The strong side fullback steps into midfield to create a box with the pivot, the second midfielder and the 10. The winger holds width. 4 inside force their 3 to collapse. That triggers the switch. 2 quick passes to the far centre-back, out to the opposite full-back who's already high, into the winger's run on the blind side, cross or cutback. This is where the patterns turn into chances. Scenario 3, protecting a 1-goal lead away from home. Under pressure? Not by retreating into the 6-yard box, by owning the next 90 seconds with the ball. Goalkeeper steps up to act as the free man. Centre-backs take the sting out of the press with 2-touch circulation. The pivot demands the ball, not to play Hollywood passes, but to slow the rhythm, draw a foul, reset the shape. The wingers don't chase counters, they stretch the touch lines, forcing the opponent's fullbacks to think twice before joining the wave. The team breathes again, the clock moves. You protect leads with discipline and intelligence, not with hope and headers alone. There's also the human element. This appointment would not just be about tactics, it would be about belief. Players need to feel the ceiling moving up, not closing in. The number 10, so often asked to be a firefighter chasing lost causes, would be invited to be an architect again. The young midfielder, told to be patient while football passes him by, would be told to take the wheel and drive the tempo. The forwards, frustrated by service that arrives late or never, would finally time their runs to passes that arrive on purpose. But let's be fair, there are risks and they're not small. The Premier League punishes construction phases. If the first month is careless, the noise gets ugly quickly. A brave build-up without synchronized distances turns into live ball turnovers in the worst areas. If the counter-press is a half-second slow, the transitions become avalanches. If the training ground doesn't establish clear rest-defense structures, how many behind the ball, which lanes protected, which fouls taken, United will leak goals no matter how pretty the patterns look. Leadership will be tested too. There can't be excuses about grass height or sunshine angles. There can't be public lectures that harden the divide between manager and players. When mistakes happen, and they will, ownership has to start at the top. That doesn't mean protecting everything in front of the cameras. It means protecting the group long enough to fix the problem on the training pitch. Recruitment matters as well. Xavi doesn't need a supermarket sweep, but he does need profile alignment. If the goalkeeper isn't at ease under pressure, the first pass becomes a stress test. If neither fullback can invert into midfield, the box shape breaks. If the squad lacks a runner in the second midfield slot, the first line of press gets walked through. The puzzle here is less about famous names and more about pieces that fit. A press-resistant pivot, a connector who can carry or pass through the first line, at least one winger who holds width to stretch the back five, and one who plays inside to build the overload. Now, if you're still wondering what this actually looks like in the first 100 days, here's the roadmap we'd expect. Week 1 to 2. Vocabulary and distances. Sessions revolve around 6 versus 3 and 7 versus 4 rondos with strict lane rules. The point is not tricks, it's timing. Players learn the triggers. When the fullback steps inside, when the 10 drops to form a double pivot, when the winger pins, when the striker releases. Out of possession, the first and second defenders' roles get ironclad. No more 2 players jumping to the same man. Week 3 to 6. Pattern automation. United rehearse 3 exits from pressure. Wall pass to the pivot, third man release via the 10, and long diagonal into the far side winger from the centre-back. Rehearsed rest defence. If a fullback is high, the opposite fullback tucks. If the pivot joins the attack, a centre-back holds the central lane. On set pieces, United lean into routines that mirror the open play philosophy. Short corners that create a new angle. Far post screens that free the late runner. Week 7 to 12. Opponent-specific tweaks. Against high presses, the goalkeeper becomes the magnet. Against deep blocks, United emphasise 2 in the half spaces, fullbacks alternating their heights, and a striker constantly dragging one centre-back to break the line. The counter-press becomes non-negotiable. Lose it, win it back in 3 seconds, or foul smartly in the middle third. At the end of that period, you'd expect the scorelines to reflect the control. Not every game will be fireworks. Some will be surgical, some will be ugly, but the overall feeling shifts from hope to plan. What about the individuals who've been drifting? The young midfielder we've kept circling. Think of him as the metronome. He receives under pressure with his body already pointing toward the next pass. He's not a sprinter, he's a timekeeper. Under Xavi, that role is gold. The number 10, your box office creator, stops roaming hopelessly and starts arriving intentionally. He's closer to the ball when it matters. He sets the backline's depth with his movement, not from frustration, but from design. On the wings, profiles stop being interchangeable. One is told, "You are the chalk on our boots." You keep the width. You force the line to stretch. You make the far fullback nervous. The other is told, "You are our extra midfielder. Come inside, combine, press the pivot when we lose it." Suddenly, their contributions are measured by more than goals and assists. They are measured by how often they create the picture the game needs. The centre forward stops being a target for aimless crosses and becomes a partner in the finish. Near-post runs that open the penalty spot for the 10. Delayed runs that arrive for cutbacks. Occasional drops into the pocket to force the opponent's centre-back to choose. Step and leave space, or hold and concede the overload. It's not romance, it's geometry. Will there be growing pains? Absolutely. There will be days when the press is a fraction late and an opponent slices through. There will be matches when the switch is half a yard off and a promising attack fizzles. But the point is not perfection, it's progression. Are the distances right more often? Is the team compact when it loses the ball? Do the players look like they know where each other are without looking? These are the signs that tell you a philosophy is taking root. And then there's Old Trafford itself. The weight, the expectation, the history. A manager who walks into that environment must make two promises and keep them. We will play with the ball, and we will defend the badge. The first is tactical, the second is cultural. The training ground sets the standard, but the tunnel sets the tone. If Xavi takes the job, the speeches will matter less than the selections. Pick courage, reward control. Back the boys who show for the ball when it's easier to hide. That message travels faster than any press conference. Let's play out two futures. In the first, United hesitate. The system stays rigid. Players continue to adapt to shapes that don't suit them. The season becomes a long goodbye. By spring, the table tells the truth, and the club starts over again with a new brochure and the same problems. In the second, United choose identity. They hire a coach who believes the ball is a weapon and a shield. The first month is a storm, but the structure holds. By winter, the team looks synchronized. By spring, the stadium feels different. The ball is an ally again. Results come not because the football is pretty, but because it is purposeful. The season ends, and for the first time in a long time, the summer is about refinement rather than rescue. Which future do you want to live in? Now, before we go, let's be crystal clear. Appointing Xavi is not magic. It requires alignment from top to bottom. The sporting leadership has to support the plan when the first wave hits. The recruitment team has to prioritise profiles over posters. The players have to lean into discomfort and accept that better football comes with a learning curve. If these pieces lock, you don't just get a bounce, you get a base. So, is Xavi Hernández to Manchester United a masterstroke or madness? It's a masterstroke if the club is ready to commit, not just flirt. It's a masterstroke if the players are prepared to think faster, move smarter, and trust the training when the game turns hot. It's a masterstroke if leadership replaces excuses with ownership and rigidity with adaptation. It's madness only if United repeat the one habit that keeps hurting them, hiring an idea and refusing to live by it. Here's our bottom line. This club doesn't need a saviour. It needs a system that makes sense and a standard that doesn't bend. Xavi brings both, imperfect, tested, and sharper from the fire. He will demand the ball. He will demand bravery. He will demand that the crest means something again, beyond marketing and memory. If you can see that picture, you can see the path. And if you enjoyed walking that path with us today, make sure you subscribe to Infinite Football. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss the videos where we turn the biggest questions in the game into clear pictures you can carry into the weekend. Turn on notifications, drop your thoughts in the comments, and join a community that loves the sport the way it's meant to be played. Smart, brave, and together. Thank you for watching. This is Infinite Football. We'll see you in the next one.